What is it about Lewis Hamilton that has completely impressed two Ferrari pillars like Vasseur and Leclerc before the Mexican GP? What is happening behind the scenes at Maranello that could change the course of the 2025 season? The first big internal shakeup came not in Maranello, not even during preseason testing, but in an unexpected place, Austin, Texas. There, during the United States Grand Prix weekend, Hamilton transformed what seemed like a formal race into a quiet demonstration of excellence. During the qualifying sprint, he barely managed 8th place. His lap was far from the leading pace, almost 9/10 behind Verstappen. It was, on paper, a disappointing result, typical of a driver still adapting to the car. But what would come next would completely rewrite that perception. In the sprint race, Hamilton executed a surgical comeback. It was not a desperate attack nor a heroic play. It was a masterclass in control, tire reading, and sustained pace in one of the most unstable cars at the start of the season. He rose 4 positions in just 19 laps, on a track that does not forgive mistakes or lack of concentration. The SF25, a single-seater with rear-wheel drive problems and excessive sensitivity to tire wear, behaved like a completely different car in his hands. And that was not the product of a technical improvement. There were no updates, there was no magic in the setup. Just a connection between pilot and machine that, until that moment, the technical team had not been able to understand or replicate. Frédéric Vasseur, a methodical, cold, pragmatic man, was overwhelmed by what he had just witnessed. It wasn't just the comeback. It was the way in which Hamilton approached every corner, every braking, every decision-making on the track. In later statements, Vasseur himself admitted that for 2/3 of the weekend, Lewis was faster than Leclerc. And that, coming from someone who has protected Leclerc as the absolute future of the team, is more than an observation. It's a sign. An implicit statement that Ferrari's internal leadership is no longer a Monégasque monopoly. But the most interesting thing was not just the speed. It was the how. Because what baffled the engineers was that Hamilton managed to neutralize the SF25's most critical problem, the thermal management of the front tires. While Leclerc and other drivers suffered with the famous graining and asymmetric degradation caused by temperatures outside the optimal range, Hamilton managed to keep his tires in a perfectly stable temperature window. No alignment changes or suspension adjustments were necessary. His driving style made it possible. And this is where the real amazement begins. Because what Hamilton did cannot be programmed in a simulator. You don't learn from a telemetry sheet. It is a sensitivity acquired after years of driving at the limit, an almost artistic connection with the car. On a circuit like Austin with high-speed corners and demanding braking zones, keeping the rear axle under control without compromising output is a daunting task. But Hamilton did it, and without losing rhythm. This generated a small earthquake in the internal structure of Ferrari. The technical team, accustomed to treating Leclerc as the main point of reference for development, was forced to re-evaluate its methods. Post-race meetings were filled with unanswered questions. How did Hamilton stabilize the car in corners where the data predicted instability? What mental or technical adjustments did you make to maintain traction without degrading the compounds? Why did you manage to maintain such a consistent progression without overheating the brakes or punishing the rear axle? The answers did not come quickly. But what did come was a certainty. Ferrari is no longer just Leclerc's team. With Hamilton, they have a driver who not only challenges the car but reprograms it from the wheel. Someone who, even without knowing all the corners of the Ferrari system, is already rewriting its operational limits. And that, for a team that has been trapped in its own technical limitations for years, represents a monumental opportunity and challenge. After the sprint race in Austin, Leclerc spent more time than ever analyzing telemetry data. What he saw there changed his perspective. Hamilton hadn't simply been faster. It had been more efficient, more consistent, and more precise. Where he suffered from asymmetric wear on the front axle, Hamilton managed to maintain a clean, stable line without loss of load. Where Leclerc needed specific adjustments to control the SF25's oversteer, Hamilton simply altered the balance from the steering wheel. It was as if the car, with all its flaws, was transformed under his hands. This difference was not only reflected in lap times, but in something deeper, the emotional management of the car. While Leclerc constantly fought against the limitations of the SF25, Hamilton seemed to navigate above them, anticipating them. And that type of control is not learned in a week nor improvised in a race. He trains for years in extreme situations, with an intuitive understanding of how a car behaves in critical conditions. Leclerc saw it, and he recognized it, although not publicly. Leclerc's respect for Hamilton was also cemented off the track. During technical meetings, Charles witnessed firsthand his colleagues' level of preparation. The meticulous way in which Hamilton approached each run, each simulation, each feedback with the engineers, was very different from what he had experienced with other colleagues. It was not arrogance nor superiority. It was pure discipline taken to the extreme. Instead of generating friction, this provoked a mixture of admiration and self-criticism in Leclerc. For the first time, he felt that he had to go beyond his own level to maintain his internal leadership position. In the Maranello garages, the technicians noticed it. Leclerc began to change his language in engineering sessions. He asked more questions. He listened more attentively. He exchanged references with Hamilton with a humility rare in the elite. It wasn't about giving up. It was about growing up. To absorb the experience of someone who had seen all the possible wars in F1 and still had the energy of a rookie. That respect, silent but deep, becomes an emotional tension that gives a new flavor to this season. Each weekend is not just a battle against McLaren or Red Bull, but a continuous conversation between two styles, two generations, and two driving philosophies that now share a box. And the Mexican GP will be a new page in that book that is just beginning to be written. What Hamilton has done this year is not adapt. It is rebuilding from scratch. Today, that invisible work begins to produce visible results. Over the last 5 races, Hamilton hasn't just closed the gap on Leclerc. He's reversed it on certain weekends. He has mastered the art of preserving tires without compromising pace. He has managed to synchronize his piloting with the SF25's blind spots, turning structural weaknesses into circumstantial strengths. And most importantly, he has injected the team with a new way of thinking. More focused, more professional, more relentless. In this process, he has not tried to replicate Schumacher or resurrect Vettel. He has created his own narrative. One in which age is not an obstacle, history is not a burden, and talent is not measured in instant adaptability, but in strategic resilience. Just days before the Mexican Grand Prix, Ferrari is no longer a disoriented structure that depends on the hands of a single driver. Now it is a machinery that begins to synchronize from within, with Hamilton as the cog that forces everyone to spin faster, finer, and with more purpose. And that transformation, which is not seen on the podiums yet, is already happening in every briefing, in every analysis, in every setup decision. The first signs of this transformation have been silent. A different atmosphere in technical meetings. A higher level of demand in preparing for the weekends. Greater cohesion between departments. The work that Hamilton began in the simulators and in private feedback sessions has filtered down to the very heart of Ferrari. Today, engineers talk about correlations with the pilot that previously seemed impossible. The solutions do not arrive alone, but the language between car, track, and data begins to align its rhythm. And this evolution is not unilateral. Charles Leclerc has also changed. The driver who used to carry the weight of the Scuderia now has a partner who not only shares that burden, but transforms it into momentum. The silent rivalry between the two has not divided the team, as happened in other Ferrari eras. On the contrary, it has raised the bar for both. Mutual respect has not generated friction, but rather a new internal competitive standard that is producing tangible results. Vasseur knows it. He has led winning structures and has also seen teams collapse due to poorly managed egos. What you are building in 2025 is different. It is not a team that revolves around a single figure. It is a structure that is beginning to understand that it can only win if its leaders challenge each other without destroying themselves. The Mexican GP will be a brutal thermometer. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez requires perfect coordination between power unit, aerodynamic load, and thermal management. The extreme altitude exposes every technical weakness. But it also rewards pilots with sensitivity, experience, and the ability to adapt instantly. Just the kind of environment where Hamilton has historically shined. Just the type of circuit where Ferrari has failed due to excess conservatism. But this time, it doesn't seem like they're going to come with the same approach. Previous work has been more aggressive, more focused on understanding the specific degradation of this circuit, on simulating different scenarios with the energy maps, on finding small margins to unlock performance without compromising reliability. It is no longer a reactive Ferrari. It is one that begins to anticipate. If this trend continues, the rest of the grid should worry. Because Ferrari not only has 2 drivers in competitive sync, you have a technical team that is starting to speak the same language. Let me know in the comments what you thought of all this.